Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here for Novellas in November to review my first novella read for this month. And that was, on my Kindle, The Lifted Veil by George Eliot. Now, as I stated in my previous video, I have not read George Eliot before, much to my shame. So this is my first experience with her as an author. The Lifted Veil is not considered one of her best works, and can't really judge against her other works, but as an independent novella, it was entertaining enough and fine. It was written in 1859. It is the story of Latimer, and is a first-person narration. He is predicting his own demise at the beginning of the novella. He said he is going to die, that he can foresee the future. And this ability that he says he has stems from a childhood illness, and that allows him to see into the future. So he says. It becomes very clear that Latimer is not the most reliable of narrators. And I have to admit that I have a fondness for the unreliable narrator, and it will always boost my enjoyment of a story when I am digging around in the text and deciding, where is this narrator going wrong, or where is this narrator lying to the reader? So what happens is Latimer has an older brother named Alfred. And Alfred is the favorite son of the family. His father has great plans for Alfred. He is going to go to he's going to get the best education, he is going to get the best career, and poor Latimer is just on the sidelines, and he is interested in poetry. Now, one of the friends of the family has adopted a girl who I guess we consider a teenage girl or an adultish girl, a middle-aged girl at the time, and there is plans for her to marry the older son, Alfred. Now, Latimer, of course, is infatuated with this girl. Her name is Bertha. At one point, she's having a birthday, and everyone in the family is supposed to give her a present. They all give her jewels. And poor Latimer's jewel is a topaz, or is it a ruby? I forgot which one it is. Doesn't really matter. But it is the cheapest of all the gifts that Bertha has got. So after the birthday celebration, she comes out. She is wearing all the jewelry that has been given to her, except the ring that was given to her by Latimer. And Latimer is, of course, devastated. He thinks that she hates the gift and dislikes him. And he says something to her, and she says, "Oh, you didn't realize this." And she reaches into her bodice and pulls out a little necklace. And on the necklace is that ring. She says, "It's actually very uncomfortable to wear it next to my heart. And since you don't believe me, I'm just going to wear it on my ring." So it goes from there, and the wedding is eventually confirmed that Bertha is going to marry Alfred. Now, of course, something is going to happen in this novel, and Bertha's not going to be able to marry Alfred, and she will eventually marry Latimer. And the marriage does not go well. And I will end with that of the basic description of the plot. The plot at this point is very formulaic, I think, but it's very well written. As someone like it was Brian at Bookish says, George Eliot writes so well, she's just a joy to read, and I have to agree with that. I very much enjoyed reading this novella. While I was reading on my Kindle, I was also listening to the audiobook that I got from Audible, and that audiobook is for free on Audible if you are a subscriber. At least at the time of this video it is. But what happens is that this novella takes a darker turn, and it turns into a horror novel. And I found that the first part of this novel was very conventional, and turning to the horror novel, it felt a little strained. It felt a little tacked on, like this horror portion could have been its own short story without this big introduction of Latimer and Bertha and the brother Alfred and the father. And what happens, and I won't say exactly what happens, but something on the lines of scientific paranormality happens. Now, when this novel was written, the publishers originally just sort of dismissed George Eliot's supernatural or scientific happening as very implausible. And as a modern reader, I have to agree that what happens in this novel is totally implausible. It does not convince a modern reader, as it didn't convince the Victorian readers back when it was written. However, within the confines of the short story, I was willing to overlook her use of this gimmick to produce a horror at the end of the story. That's about what I have to say for this novel. I think it's well worth a read. It's about a 2-hour read, especially when I was listening on with an audiobook going in the background. And I think it's well worth it. I did enjoy my introduction to George Eliot. And I do want to continue reading more of her works. Victober has just passed, so I don't know if that'll happen before then. But if I have not read George Eliot's books before then, she's on a definite course to be included for next Victober in 2022. And that is my short little review of The Lifted Veil. If you want to, please go check it out. It's well worth the read. Thank you. Goodbye.